And now this conversation is a timely one, given that we're talking about food safety and nutrition. I'm sure it will be a matter of discussion. Yesterday we saw the Education Principal Secretary, that is Dr. Belio Kipsang, speaking about food security and nutrition in the country, especially tying it in to the programs the government is taking, especially when it comes to schools' meals. Now we have experts here in the field, as well as Newton Uganda, to speak on this, some of the initiatives the government is taking aboard. But first, let me get to start with Mildred. Mildred, once more, Mildred Maingi. She is the Millers for Nutrition Program Specialist. Mildred, welcome once more. Tell us about how are we progressing as a country when it comes to nutrition?
So as a country, we have made milestones. We have made huge milestones. When you look at the Kenya Demographic Health Survey, we are able to see that in terms of nutrition, we have made progress. When you look at stunting, in 2008, it was about 35%. Meaning about 3 out of 10 kids were stunted. Stunting basically means they're too short for their age. Yeah. So it's really a marker of chronic malnutrition. And the recent statistics, we had a Kenya Demographic Health Survey in 2022, which is last year but one, and we see this has decreased to 18%. So that's about 2 in 10 kids who are stunted. So we have seen a lot of improvement in terms of these statistics. When you look at underweight is, they're too thin for their age. We have seen the statistics decreasing. At this point, we have 10%. Yeah, so we have made a lot of progress in terms of the nutrition as a country. And also when it comes to like coverage of fortified foods. Now fortified foods are mostly what we work with. So I work mostly with millers, and millers are charged with the mandate of fortifying the foods that we eat. So fortification is basically addition of vitamins and minerals to food. So as a country, in 2012, we had mandatory food fortification passed as a law. So all the flours in the market, that is all the maize flour and wheat flour in the market, as well as edible fats and oils, should be fortified. Basically should have added vitamins and minerals that are set by the Kenya Bureau of Standards. So we have seen the coverage increasing. We have seen more and more millers coming in to, implement fortification. A few years back, we had only the large-scale millers doing it. But now we have seen more and more millers actually fortifying their, even the smaller millers fortifying, of course, with our support and support from other partners as TechnoServe. So we have seen more and more millers fortifying, so the coverage of fortified foods has increased. And also we have more other programs which are promoting, diversity of food, promoting variety, eating more and more. So we have also seen a lot of awareness, as a country in terms of the benefits of fortification to our health. I mean, the benefits of nutrition to our health, and yes.
And Penina, pick up the conversation from there. You can see this annual meeting that is happening even at KICC. This is an opportunity for organizations such as yourself that you're working for to tap into the resources that the African Development Bank is offering, especially when it comes to fortification. Talk about that. Mildred has just talked about some of the health benefits and including some of these minerals, vitamins into this flour, and tied to the conversation that is currently happening in the country when it comes to food security.
Thank you very much. Just to expound and reiterate what Mildred has just said about food fortification, being the intentional addition of the essential micronutrients, these being vitamins and minerals, we understand the vitamins and minerals are things that our body is not able to reproduce by itself. You have to get it from the environment, that's the food we eat. For specifically, these vitamins will include the vitamin A, the B vitamins. We have about 6 types of the B vitamins, which we only get from our diet. We also need to get the minerals from our diet. We cannot reproduce. Unlike something like vitamin D, where you just need to bask in the sun and your skin is able to reproduce the vitamin D. for these others that are being added into our diet, they have to be very intentional to add into to our food, to our diet, to ensure that we are able to maximize on our availability in our bodies, so that we're able to live a healthy life. And when we are doing the fortification, there's also the need to ensure that we don't cause harm to the consumers, because it's not only try to solve a problem and creating another issue in it. So food fortification is a very important aspect, very needful for people, because it provides a common playing ground for everyone. Look at it, like many of us, Kenyans are limited in terms of the availability of different types of diet. Okay, most times you find that maize, that call it ugali, is the common staple food in our homes.
Yes.
Wheat flour is also very common, and you find most of that food you see, it's more of starch. Being more of starch, and also the processing aspect, we understand during the processing, there's a lot of husk that's removed that contains a lot of the vitamins that we also need in our bodies. And like I said, we cannot reproduce within our body. So again, we have to depend on that diet. Okay. So this makes it very essential to be able to add back whatever is processed, so that whatever we eat on our table, it's healthy and very nutritious, so that we're able to live a healthy reproductive life. So again, because we miss it, then especially for our children, if they're able to miss it, then to miss they are not able to hit their milestones, because we need nutrients for their brain development, we need it for their growth, to boost the immunity and all that. So in the long run, we continually give our children something that is not very up to standard to their body requirement, their growth requirement, brain development. They are not able to achieve their milestone, and that affects us economically, because if definitely if you're not economically empowered, mental capacity, you can't be able to be of productivity to the nation, then economically on a GDP aspect we are affected. So everyone loses. So fortification becomes a very easy and cost-effective way of reaching out to everyone and ensure that everyone is healthy and very productive and to the benefit of everyone in the nation.
Okay, now Newton, tied to the conversation that is currently happening into the country, when it comes to the school feeding program, we just heard from the experts here, if we do not look into the nutrients these kids are consuming, it might affect them in the long run. So how crucial is this at this time?
Thank you once again. You know, it is actually, if you go to our Constitution, Article 53C, state very well that every child has a right to get nutrition. Yes. But the problem and the challenge that we have been having is just one, that I may agree and disagree, is that our government or our nation is still poor to reach out each and every child when it comes to issue of nutrition. I've been walking around and going to schools, visiting the various families, more so during this flood season. You will find that a family can go a week with just eating starch. Like they eat ugali and they eat githeri, and that is the life that they are leading. This year, I think February, I was in Turkana County when I went to do some medical outreaches and giving food to those our brothers and sisters who are staying in the camps. There is nothing like balanced diet at all, and this brings a lot of sickness because they don't have the balanced diet. So if at all we have to improve the nutrition levels of feeding our people, then the government or the country must do something. Like we must go back to our garden and or our farms to make sure that we plant food which will balance the nutrition the way it should be.
And Mildred, have you made such recommendations, given that you're in that sector now, aside from being in the millers as well, which we consume largely when it comes to wheat, flour, and all these products? Do you recommend, not just to the government, but institutions such as education facilities we do have, and other sectors?
Yes, these are some of the recommendations that have been made in terms of improving really the nutrition parameters. So the school feeding program should not just be about, providing food to the table to the student, but rather, you know, also improving the nutritional profile of the student. Yeah, so these are some of the inputs that we have also provided. Yeah, providing.
Okay, Penina, talk about some of the challenges. Are these some of the challenges you have even witnessed when you're carrying out such diligent services that you do out there? Are these some of the issues that come up?
Yes. I think part of the challenges that our main food vehicle processors face, you know, they're in business, they need demand for their food. But again, the standard demands that every packaged wheat and maize flour, edible oil, and now we are going to the rice, and also at least for the soy, salt has been very successful at 95%. Most of the salt is very iodized. You find there's a lot of competition in the market. Let me for now narrow down to the maize flour. We have different capacity of the maize flour processors, both the small and large scale. Yet the market focus is the same, but you see the pricing is very different in the market. When they take their product to the market, they compete in terms of price. But you see those people who are doing the fortification of serving food fortification mandate, they have gone an extra, they experience an extra cost of installing their capacity, buying the premixes that are going to the fortification, where there could be another miller down there who is not observing the fortification. So when it comes to the market phase, they are not competing at a fair rate. So sometimes it feels like it's a disadvantage to the person who is fortifying. Sometimes it can be a bit discouraging for the person who is investing a lot, training, buying the premises, buying the dosing machines and all that. Sometimes it feels like it's a discouragement. But again, also our consumers are not aware. I'm not so sure how many consumers look at the package and they feel the confidence of buying that particular packet based on what they see labeled on the packet. I'm sure majority of the consumers assume that's just a marketing aspect of just labeling that we have nutrients, we have vitamins and minerals on the packet, but I'm not sure how many consumers really believe that those that packet is well fortified. So it's a challenge also to convincing our consumer that when you go to the market, buy that which is packaged and well able to be well fortified. So again, it goes back to the processor, the experience, the challenge of convincing their consumer again, you need to buy this product. Yeah. Because
mostly we are victims of that. We just look at the brand name and we just pick the product. But Newton, as you rebutted, we're talking about you have been on the ground. What are some of the solutions would you give the government of the day and the policymakers who are watching you right now to improve on when it comes to this?
But you know, there's something that is actually putting us not to be in balance in everything. For example, we are discussing about the nutrition issues, how the millers should be mixing their products to get the quality. But you know, we have those who cannot go to the market and buy anything. We have those who are consuming directly from what they receive. Because in Kenya, I think the majority are living under the poverty levels. So, for example, if you go back to the community where we have only 1 meal a day, they don't know about the nutrition. And it makes it too difficult even to the pregnant women to have the balanced food so that their children can be fed with or can feed through what their mother is getting for nutrition aspect. What I will request Kenyan and maybe the government or the sector of agriculture, that we need to go back and start thinking on how we can do organic farming, because we have a big number who doesn't know where the market is. I'm talking out of experience because I'm in the field almost every day when I'm back in the upcountry. We need to have a civic education, more so in the agriculture. Being agriculture is devolved, and we have this county issue. They need to send their experts on agriculture. Number one, to check on the soil that we have, what a soil can produce. Then, if we can work on how we can do local manure to improve our farming so that we can eat things without a chemical. It's just recently here when we are fighting against wrong fertilizer. Then this wrong fertilizer is what we're going to use to produce the food which will be taken to millers. Even if they mix it, somehow it will not meet the qualities that we need for the food. So my major concern is that when we want to have a country where we reach each and every person, we need to go back to our organic farming, and we have to improve and invest more in the agriculture, because that is where we are going to have issue of mixing food in a balanced way. But again, we have areas like northeastern where actually sometimes we don't have the balanced weather. So we cannot have what comes from our farms. These are the areas that now we need to focus into, that when we are giving food to these regions, which is the best company? Because now the matter again is the company which is mixing this food, the millers. Because, you know, our millers are looking for money, and the economy is really hard for everybody. So you'll find sometimes they use this as an advantage of doing things which are not right. And then they get their money to sustain their workers and everything. So my concern is, if you want to have this discussion well in the whole country, the best we can do is to go back and teach our farmers. We have young farmers, we have poor farmers, and we have rich farmers. We need to identify on what we are going to produce as a country and how we can send our expert like this, my two sisters, to go back to the ground, and they start teaching or training many people on how they can mix their food even manually. Yeah, so that we can get to exactly what we need as a country. We have a percentage of children who are dying because of nutrition. When you go to places like Turkana, if you go places like more in Masai, more in the poor regions, even in our region, maybe I'm coming from Homa Bay. When you go to these slums, when you go to these people, you'll find the children dying. They are really dying because of the balanced diet. So because the mother cannot afford to reach the qualifications that we need to have. So it is a matter. In fact, the discussion of it, it's a big matter for the country. So I'm just pleading, or my plea is to the Ministry of Agriculture, both nationally and both county, that we need to do something on our farms so that we can get what is right, and we need to have a civic education on what should be given to our children and our pregnant mothers. Yeah.
And Mildred, you've just talked earlier about the statistics that you're just mentioning, some of the health complications we have witnessed if you do not eat a balanced diet, especially what Newton is talking about, areas that have been marginalized. For example, in your organization, do you have something like corporate social responsibility where you carry out awareness on the ground?
Yes, so we focus so much on making sure that people understand what is the significance of nutrition. And even just this forum itself helps to, you know, for people to understand, even the common wananchi to understand what is the significance of fortification and what's the significance of making sure that my child eats a healthy diet. So this is this is a focus area for us, just for people to, we don't just help millers to fortify, we also want to make sure that people understand what is the significance of it. What are the benefits that, for instance, I get by making sure that my food is rich in iron, is rich in vitamin A, is rich in folic acid, and those kind of things. So this is something that we have been continuously doing here.
And Penina, how do you collaborate, not just with your partners that you work with, but the government of the day? You do know that this administration has pumped a lot of money when it comes to the agricultural sector. Even in the coming budget of the 2024-2025, agriculture will be among the winners in this sector. How have you been working, not just with the national, but the county government as well?
Oh, thank you very much. Part of the work what we do with the county government is like a way of sponsoring them, financially empowering them to be able to do education and training of the millers within their locality, because we understand that fortification being a new thing in the country, not everyone is very much aware.
Yes.
So part of the things we do, apart from advocacy, is also training them, which the government sometimes is not able to sponsor and all that. So we're able to sponsor those kind of training. We're also able to sponsor meeting or government meeting, like currently recently we had the Food Fortification Summit at Safari Park early this year. I don't remember the exact dates. So such forums, you're able to bring together and help the government and also work together, let's say working together with the government, so that they're able to deliver the mandate of food fortification. We have also been engaged in the development of different food fortification policies. For instance, there is a premix study that was done around 2018, 2022, which informs what kind of micronutrients should be in the fortificant so that they're able to meet the nutritional requirement in the food that we have. So that's just in a nutshell the kind of things that we do, that partnering and recognizing the work the government is doing to ensure that there's nutritious food in our nation. Yes.
And Newton, we cannot escape the elephant in the room. We have been witnessing and be feeling the adverse effects of climate change. It is something even countries are considering, not just in the developed world, but especially in this continent known as Africa. We have been feeling the greatest brunt, yet we're emitting less than other countries. So is this a conversation that should be tied in, not just food security and nutrition? You have even witnessed the floods that we have been going through, has even threatened the food security of this country. Should this be a national conversation now?
Yeah, it is, because, you know, it's only that we always forget so fast and we get involved in other things which are not supposed to be in the picture. It is just less than 2 or 3 weeks when the country has been going through a lot of flooding. People are being taken with water. We have deaths, and it was a disaster, I can put it in short. It is something that we must make sure that we don't make jokes about, and we must find a way on how we can deal with it in the future. You know, this is now the 4th time I've seen disaster coming and we are not aware, we are not ready to deal with it. Recently I saw the government announced that they are putting 1 billion Kenya shillings to build houses which were being affected by the rain. It is just recently we saw the Ministry of Health trying, I think it was doctors who were on strike, were trying to go and start reaching out the people who have been affected to help on treatment and other things. And again, it's affecting the agricultural sector, because when there's flooding, there will be no food in our garden, garden or in our farms. So it is something that should it need a lot of discussion. And apart from discussion, sometimes I always say, I hate discussion which are not bearing fruits, because I've witnessed many times when there's attack like what we had recently, we are full here in TV stations, radio stations, and we do a lot of charity work during those days. But after it stopped, nobody actually think about how will we approach it tomorrow. You know, this bring it even to be too much difficult about even the issue we're discussing about nutrition, because you cannot balance it when we are going through that. So we need to, when we talk about the government is us. It is not about the president or the whoever in power, but it is us as Kenyans, because we are the government. The Kenyans are the people who are installing the government, and we are the people who are running the government. So I'm talking about us. So us, we need to start thinking bigger than how we've been thinking, or wider. Because today the rain is slowing down. We are going back to our normal life. You see the president and the minister have been trying to send people away from the places they have been. Yeah, because they see. And nobody wants to go. And then it becomes a disaster and some people will die. So my word to this is that we need to understand the fate of a child. Yeah, because a child who being swept by water is not aware on what is going on. So before we decide not to do as the government wants, we need to think about the children, because the child has a right to be born in Kenya. He has a right to go to school in Kenya. He has a right to get medical attention in Kenya, and he has a right to get food in Kenya. And again, he has a right to get a shelter. So by the time we have witnessed what we have witnessed last, we should think about on what is the permanent solution. What's the permanent solution? Can us as the government, or we as the government, look for the adequate lands for our people to live? if you go to developed countries, there's something I love in Europe and in America as well. They settle people in urban region, and they leave big areas for farming.
Okay.
So they can get whatever food they need because they put people together. But we cannot go about that now because this is how we settle in Kenya. We settle in our homes, and then we have small farms, and then we come to the capital city to look for the job. But we can still do something about it. We need to have a large discussion with the current government. What can we do to protect what happened yesterday for the future?
Okay.
What are the implementation we have done? Is the 1 billion Kenya shillings there for the building houses? And after building these houses, where do these families get food? Because in Kenya, I believe we have been coming from families set up. I am a Luo by birth,
Okay.
but I'm a Kenyan by my right. But being a Luo by birth, I have the way we settle ourselves from our land.
Okay.
These who have been affected, they have areas and regions where they were born, and they have big lands. You will find somebody is dying in Madare here, but he left 20 acres at home, and nobody is staying there, and this land is not even having anything close to what was happening there. So it is just a discussion that we should put across to make sure that next, when we'll be having another disaster, we should be prepared before something happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mildred, I'm aware that you'll be having a national conversation come next month. Is this something that you're going to touch on? And what are some of the innovative solutions are we likely to expect from your conversations that will be happening next month?
Yeah, so next month, that is on 4th of June, we are going to be launching the Millers for Nutrition. So the Millers for Nutrition is basically a global network of millers and partners who are championing nutrition. So we're going to be having conversations in this. We're going to be having also the government stakeholders. We're also going to be having millers, of course, being the center of this whole coalition. And also we're going to be having strategic fortification partners. Now, strategic fortification partners are global experts who mainly consist of input suppliers. And inputs in this case in fortification is premixes, basically. So we're going to be having DSM, Mullen, Chemi, BSF, so just to mention a few of the experts that we have on board. And then we're also going to be having other development partners on board. So this initiative is basically an innovative approach for millers to be able to obtain technical assistance through the platform, and also leveraging on expertise, global expertise. So
Tied to the conversation when it comes to climate change, is it something you're going to talk about?
Yes, of course. We cannot ignore, the effects of climate change. So it's always going to be a conversation, and especially because we are dealing with millers, and millers, they obtain their raw materials basically from the farmers. And of course, this is directly related to climate change. So we're also going to be having the Ministry of Agriculture on board. So it's a conversation that we are going to be having, yes, in terms of access to maize for millers, and access and also safety of it as well. Yeah.
And Penina, what are some of the innovative solutions you might be fronting, given that you can see the effects of climate change that we're currently witnessing? Now couple it to the technological advancements that we have been witnessing around the world. So how are you going to tie that together so that you can give innovative solutions when it comes to fortification?
Okay, thank you very much. So in terms of food safety and lining up with the climate change, you realize there's a lot of aflatoxin occurrence in our grains, basically because of the changes in the climate, exposure of the maize to the soil, and also not being able to dry so well because of the weather aspect, which is a bit of also of the aspect of the climate change. So part of the solution we intend to probably bring on board is working with the research institution, and we cannot leave behind the CARLO, which is very much engaged in the development of AfraSafe products. That aflatoxin starts from the soil. So if you're able to embrace AfraSafe aspect, whereby you're able to minimize the occurrence of aflatoxin from the soil that is carried over to the milling and also to the final product, then we are assured that the final product will be a bit more safe. We know the impact of aflatoxin. It's very much associated with the carcinogenic occurrence in our bodies. So with the ability to be able to minimize that occurrence, then we are almost guaranteed that whatever we get on our meal, especially in the maize, will be able to be safe. So if you compare the same aflatoxin occurrence in wheat compared to the maize, we know that the wheat harvesting, all the processing and the handling aspect of it is highly mechanized, so the exposure of it is very minimal in comparison to the maize. If you've had a chance to go to the Rift Valley region during the harvesting season, I'm sure you find a lot of maize spread out on the soil, on the floor and all that. That's the contact place where there's a lot of contamination. So if there's ability to embrace mechanization of the same, probably harvesting at the right time, make sure drying is done at the right time, within the shortest time possible, be able to minimize the occurrence of that aflatoxin, which is a menace in the milling industry. Currently, if you're able to go to the milling sector, there's a lot of turning away of the maize because there's a lot of it, because there being a lot of rainy season. And in Kenya, I don't think we have embraced a lot of mechanical drying. So maize takes so much time with the farmers on the drying aspect. There's a build-up of aflatoxin. So when they go to the mill, I know currently, the maximum allowed limit in the final product is 10 ppb, 10 parts per billion. So anything above that, and you see as a miller, they can't take anything beyond 5 because of the internal processes that are likely to increase the occurrence of the same. So they don't want to expose their consumer to the same, so they have to take it a bit lower, which is a big challenge to the farmer to ensure that by the time they're taking to the mill, it's a bit like 5 and below. So that's a big challenge. So one of the innovative ways to embrace the technology from the research institutions. Currently, I'm aware of the AflaSafe that's being developed by the CARO and plus other research institutions. So part of it is, I'll talk about the AflaSafe aspect.
Ogada, the conversation when it comes to insurance in the agricultural sector, especially from the farmers that are counting losses following these devastations by floods. Should the ministry consider compensation? Because the last conversation the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi was having before the floor of the House was talking about that the ministry is unable to cover when it comes to floods, but when it comes to droughts, they're able to cover them because there's insurance in place. So this time around, should farmers be educated on that so that when devastations such as we have witnessed in the country happen, at least they are covered?
It depends with the, it should be good for them to be compensated when their farming got affected by the flood or something. But you know, my brother, the farmers that we have are poor. We don't have rich farmers who can, again, go for insurance to cover them when it comes to this. This should be the government thing. The government should cover all our farmers. In a way, if there's problem, we don't need to go back to the government to cry for food and other things, because the paying insurance is much better in a comprehensive way of helping the disaster if any may occur. And we know, most of the time we have been going through all this disaster. But I don't want to talk more about the government because I don't know where the money is. Because in developed countries, all the farmers are being covered. Reason, even after they do their farming, they supply, they get paid. But in our country, somehow, the same farmers are crying they have not been paid. With the millers or with the government, since the government buy off from, so it is something that it needs a lot detailed discussion. I think from the parliament, not even outside here. Because here we talk, but somehow it will not help. But they should be covered by the insurance. So in case of any disaster, we still have something in our account to help even to import food from other regions which were not affected. I don't know how to talk about agriculture. The way I stated, it is not 1 year ago when the fertilizer was fake. And this fertilizer, the government is paying for it to reduce the price so the farmers can get something to use during their plantation. Then the government paid, then the farmers got something which is fake. I don't know how we are going to build our trust with these institutions as Kenyans. My cry to this, our country, even if there are some people who are corrupt, we should reduce this corruption level because we are killing our own children. By the time we go back to our farming and we've been given fake fertilizer, which is having a lot of chemicals, or they sold us sand, what level are we improving our agricultural sector? We are not improving nothing. We are still running back to the poverty. And when something occurs like what occurred last time, then we have money to reach out to the people, to make sure that we bring them out. Where is this money when we want it to cover for our farmers and our agricultural sector? If you go back to the offices, all the external officers are just sitting. They don't even report to work. If they report 2 days a week. Because I'm working in the ground, and I'm supporting. You will find nobody, even if you forget about this other crop, but you go back to dairy farming. Many cows are dying because there's no agricultural officer who's coming. If you don't have money, you cannot call an extension officer and come with medicine to treat your cow. So it is something that we need to have a wide discussion with the Minister of Agriculture. We need to talk with the county government. We have to find where did we went wrong when it comes to the management of funds in our country. Where did we went wrong when to think of putting our country to a situation that we have enough food, whether we have a disaster. This now rain disaster, we may have drought disaster. How are we going to manage drought disaster if by the time we had rain, we did not been given equipment? If we are talking about agriculture, we need to find a way like before, where we can send tractors from the government to help our farmers to plow their farms. And then we give them fertilizer. So even if you are supporting, if we are sending this to the millers, and we get paid, they deduct what they gave us.
Okay.
So that we can strengthen the economy. Because the economy cannot be strong when there is no food in the country. The economy cannot be strong when the health is falling apart. The economy cannot be strong when there's no education in this country. Recently I heard, I don't want to discuss about it so much or dwell, that now we are withdrawing the feeding program in our schools.
They are considering it.
They are considering it. I think they are thinking of something. It is just last year when we withdrawn the aid welfare for the same students in school. They are not getting treated, and now somehow they will not get food. How will these children go to class and learn when there is no food and there is no health?
Okay.
It's a country where we are talking about nutrition and we actually support it. But the doctors and the nurses and the recently even the lab technicians were on strike.
Okay.
How are we going to deal with the people who are now affected already are in the hospital? Now the family plan, not the family planning, the immunization of the children. The private sector which has been supporting this, the donors withdrawn. So this thing is, when we talk about this, it's not something simple.
Okay.
So we need our parliament, because they are the people who are dealing with the law, to do something for the people, because we are ready to work close with the government. We are ready to pay the taxes. But where is this money going?
Okay.
Let me bring to your attention when we are dealing with this climate change issue.
Okay.
Our country tried to plant trees so that we can control what, I don't know. But you'll find a tree is 10 shillings. But you're going to plant a tree with chopper. How much did we use to fuel the chopper to go and plant a tree? And we are talking about disaster management.
Okay.
So there are things that we need to dig deep, and I hope next time when we have a discussion, we need some people from the same government and from the parliament, so we can ask them this question openly, for us to know, are we heading in the right direction when it comes to agriculture, which actually is the stability of this country, or are we going left? The person who was dealing with agriculture, 1 minute, because I know, let me touch this, is not in jail, is not arrested. But somebody who stole or who steal banana is in police custody or in court.
Okay.
but we want to stabilize our agriculture. So I don't know. I am afraid to talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. Corruption, you've just raised that matter. But in terms of the school program that you've just touched on, yesterday, as I told you, the Education Principal Secretary, that is Dr. Bello Kipsang, spoke about this issue in the FDP 2024 annual meeting that is happening at KICC. He stated that the most important investment anyone can make is investing in the future. And I can affirm that creating physical space for school meals is key. We are now feeding 2.6 million children. You will see the government now is reconsidering financing school feeding program. Unfortunately, we're running out of time.
No, I have a question. One question.
Okay.
We are running a government, my brother. We are not running a political coup. By the time a minister is going to announce something, as he consulted the same government is working for, because we are tired of hearing things from the minister saying, remember recently the issue of education was affecting this country because the minister is saying we are closing school by midnight. The president is saying we are closing until further notice. So we need to have communication before we go to the media and announce.
Okay. We are running out of time. Unfortunately, let me give you at least 30 seconds each because we need to wrap up this conversation. Let me start with you, Mildred.
Yes.
Your final remarks?
I think as a country, we need to prioritize prioritize nutrition, and especially for fortification, it is it is very pertinent for, especially for the mothers, to understand, the benefits. Why should I choose a fortified, brand of flour compared to, just any other flour that is not fortified? Yeah, so for us, really, as a parting shot is just to call upon, all, the mothers especially, to prioritize